Hey, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Creative Collective where we are well forged creatively. I'm sorry, it's a new tagline. But we got a really special guest tonight for you. My buddy Javier, uh, is it Paredes? Hmm?
Paredes.
Paredes, thank you.
You got
And
what's up?
that's yeah, I met Javi last year at an amazing event at BPCon. Actually, we went to Disney World with Sherry and Matthew, and we just kind of forged a really cool relationship. Like we got to tour the entire park, like three parks, like 15 rides in like what 7 hours. It was insane. We got this VIP package. Sherry hooked us up with the VIP package Disney World. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend you do it. It was crazy cool. And then we've kept in contact, and Javier is killing it in the co-living. He's also an expert in short-term rentals, but tonight we're gonna dive into the co-living side of it. I got to hop on one of his podcasts Zooms the other night, and it was an incredible amount of information. The guy's got it dialed in. So Javier, welcome to the show, man.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me and giving me the opportunity to be here. And like you said, man, a few months ago we met because of the VIP event at Disney World. And now I think about it, I was like, I'll never do Disney World any other way, man. And definitely Lance has got to be there too.
I love that. I remember asking you. I was asking him. Oh, he's like, I'm not really a Disney kind of guy, man. But and then at the end of the day, he's like, that was dope. Like I will never come here without VIP again. So, yeah, that was so much fun, man. Can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, man? Where are you from? What's your background? What's your kind of background look like?
Yeah, man. So real quick, so born and raised in Miami, Florida, native to Florida. Lived in Miami till I was about 12, 13 years old. Ended up moving to a small little horse town in Florida called Ocala, Florida. About chopped my mom's head off at the time because I went from Miami to Ocala, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" But she wanted to buy a house with some land, and she liked the little bit slower atmosphere there. And I lived there till I was about 22 years old. And when I lived there, I was actually working at horse shows. I was like a hay and feed boy. Then I worked at Winn-Dixie, and I had all these, 9 to 12 or $6 an hour to $10 an hour jobs. Did masonry, had a golf ball business, had a lawn service business down in Miami as well. And as I was a little kid, I was actually always really an entrepreneur. Like it was just in me. It's like it's just one of those things like no one really ever taught it to me. It just as a little kid, I was like, I would get money, I would take my piggy bank and save it. I was also the kid I didn't want to be like in front of video games. I just didn't want to be in front of video games. And then to this day, like sitting in front of a TV to me is boring. Like me, I rather be outside. Like you guys can see, I'm an outdoor guy. I like to snowboard, I like to hike, etc. And so I was working all these, nine, eight, $6 an hour jobs year over year, year over year, year over year. And I lived in Ocala, Florida for about 10 and a half years. All of a sudden, I took the leap of faith and I was like, you know what? Orlando's the next closest biggest city to me. I feel like I've maxed out my potential here in Ocala, Florida, because again, I was doing this vicious cycle of being the hay and feed boy every season when the horse shows would come down. I would work at Winn-Dixie. I would do masonry work. I would do all these backbreaking jobs and just felt like I was repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the leap of faith. My lease is ending. I'm going to go ahead and move to Orlando, Florida. I didn't know anyone in Orlando. So I went on Craigslist. I started looking for bedrooms to rent. I found one for $400 a month. And when I moved to Orlando, I actually was repeating the same exact cycle. I found another job for $12 an hour. I was working, busting my tail, working 40 hours a week, barely even making $1,000 a week. And I met a friend of mine at the room that I was renting, the bedroom I was renting at the time for $400 a month. And he was a real estate agent. He came in a suit, he had a vest on, and he met me one day. He's like, bro, you should be in real estate. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean I should be in real estate? He's like, dude, your personality, your charisma, you should just be in real estate. I was like, okay, how do I do it? And so he's like, look, man, he's like, I'm a realtor. He showed me this $5,000 commission check. I'll never forget. At the time, to me, it was a lot of money. I was like, man, that's a lot of money. And so he showed me this commission check, and he's like, yeah, man, you should get into real estate, man. I'm at Exit Realty Central here in downtown Orlando. He's like, you should come check out our office. So, anyways, I didn't even check out the office at the time. I was like, you know what? You don't need to sell me anymore. I'm going to go ahead and get my real estate license. This is back in 2015. I got my real estate license. And at the time when I got my real estate license, I jumped in the real estate game full time as a real estate agent. I wasn't investing in real estate at all or anything. And my first year, I'll never forget, I sold 10 homes. And the same time I sold 10 homes, I traveled to 6 different countries. And so for the people who
Wow.
know me, I love to travel. Like one of the things I do is I love to travel, love to go to new countries, meet new people, shake new hands, see different cultures, just see different perspectives. And that first year when I was a real estate agent, I sold 10 homes and I was like, you're only as good as your next sale. So how do I solve this problem? Right. And so I went from selling homes, which I still do today. I have a listing business here out of Central Florida, which I kill it. I do really well. But I was like, you're only as good as your next sale. And it's like this hamster wheel thing, right? Like, okay, I make another commission check, 5, 10, 15, 20K, whatever. But it's like, you're only as good as your next sale. So year two, my business partner at the time who got me into real estate was like, buying real estate at the time, right? We lived in Orlando market. He was buying Airbnbs. He was investing in a short-term rental, and I got to kind of see him be the guinea pig of investing in real estate. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started doing the mirrored image of what he did. Year two and a half in being a realtor, I was like, you know what? I'm a licensed agent. I get paid to buy real estate. And this is before I even knew creative finance. I get paid to buy real estate. I can negotiate my own deal. And a lot of times I was negotiating with these sellers to give me closing costs, right? 3% concessions. So I was picking up houses slowly but surely. And I started out by house hacking. I bought my first deal. It was an FHA deal. I'll never forget it. Still own it to this day. It was a duplex, put 3.5% down. Seller paid my closing costs. I fixed it up and I bought it for 280. Today it's worth $650,000. I already did a
Ooh, baby.
yeah,
Wow.
it was a really good one, right? So I did a
Nice.
cash refinance on it when money was really cheap with banks. And again, this is
Mm-hmm.
before I knew anything creative finance. So I was slowly but surely building my portfolio up. I was still the realtor. I still kept that as, my main source of income was being a realtor, right? But again, going back to what I said, it was being on that hamster wheel where I just felt like I was just only as good as my next sale. Having that uncertainty to me knowing that I'm building a business at the end of the day that's not sellable, right? So I'm able to put all this time and energy to something like where I can be like, you know what? I'm done. I want to exit this. But really, what's the exit of being a realtor, right? How many realtors do you know really selling their business? And so I
Yeah.
know this from being an entrepreneur and going back as being a kid and having my lawn service and having a golf ball selling business and working for all these companies. I knew that I needed to create something that's sellable. And so
Mm.
me building my portfolio up year over year, very slowly, house hacking, buying a primary one year, move in, buying another primary, and taking advantage when interest rates were really low. And, Airbnb some of the units because all my units I was buying were, duplexes, small duplexes, small triplexes, stuff like that. And so I kept doing that year over year, year over year. And then it got to a point where money started becoming a little bit more expensive. And my scalability in the real estate started really slowing down because I can only do that it wasn't really scalable what I was doing, right? I was using
Mm-hmm.
banks, buying primary residence, kept repeating the cycle. And then that's when,
Burring.
yeah,
Basically, we're using the Burr method.
I wasn't doing Burr. I wasn't,
Okay.
never did any Burrs. I was only, everything I did, I didn't had to do anything with Burr. Two and a half, I've been in sub two for about 2.5 years. And then I started getting into creative finance, learning how to do
Mm.
owner financing and subject to deals and start taking down these deals. But I'm really, like I said, I'm really known for doing a lot of Airbnb stuff, right? I have a
Mm-hmm.
huge Airbnb portfolio. And now to where I'm at today, I went from working all those jobs, working on the or being on that hamster wheel that I felt that I was on to now I have, a short-term property management company that's super successful. I have a listing sales business out of state of Florida, which, is really successful. I still have that realtor income running, and I just reinvest all that money into other things, right? Like typically it's real estate related. I'm a big believer in real estate. And now I've launched into the co-living business model, which is pretty relevant to what people are hearing today, right? Everybody's hearing like Padswood. What's Padswood? What's co-living? One of the things that really resonated for me, if you guys who joined in the beginning, is I rented a bedroom at one point. I know what it feels like to be on that side of, $400 a month or living a paycheck to paycheck and renting a bedroom. So that side of co-living for me just resonated to me alone. And so where I'm at today, I'm like, you know what? We're in a society to where everything is so expensive. I mean, you go get groceries, you get gas. Like right now, I'm in California. Where I'm at in Tahoe, it's $6 a gallon. Like it's a lot of freaking money, for gas, groceries, everything's so expensive. Nothing's
Mhm.
economical, right? And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to double down on co-living because we're in an environment and a climate to where we need to start adding more affordable housing. Not only
Mhm.
that, it helps out my local communities and where I'm at. And so really that's like the whole like picture. Just, I can keep going on and on, but that's like a whole big picture to where I was working paycheck to paycheck, being on that hamster wheel to where I'm at today. Now I have the freedom. I could travel anywhere I want. I can go anywhere I want. I can have views like this all day long. I'm able to work remotely and run all my businesses and my teams remotely right here from Lake Tahoe. Been here for the last 7, 8 days and just living it up, brother.
That's amazing. What a story, man. Wow. You knocked it out of the park, bro. Like, you really did. Like, there's so much relatable content in there. What you just said, everything. I think a lot of people can resonate with what you said. I love the fact that you started off, making six bucks an hour, right? Like a lot of us, man. It just goes to show, what's possible. And I knew you were doing some Airbnbs, but it's like, how many Airbnbs do you have, like, roughly? Can you throw a number out
Yeah,
there?
100%. So on Airbnb, I have 17 Airbnbs. I
Wow.
also have a short-term rental property management company that I own as well. So I have my own short-term rental portfolio, and then I have my short-term rental management company as well that I've been running for the last several years as well. So out of those 17 Airbnbs, they're from anywhere from Florida all the way to North Carolina and Waynesville. Right now, I tell a lot of people because I still have a lot of people try to want to pick my brain about Airbnb. The Airbnb climate has changed 100%, right? If you don't have a
Mhm.
property with views like this, a jacuzzi, a hot tub, and you're not really showcasing experience, and you're
Mhm.
not in a emerging market, and if you're in a saturated market, you're just not going to survive, right? And so between that and the regulations that are happening, a lot of
Mhm.
people are having, a lot of tough times.
Yeah. No,
A lot
great. It's great. I love the fact that you pivoted, man. And that's really what it's about when being an entrepreneur in general, especially a real estate investor, you have to pivot. I was a fix and flipper, but when the economy started shifting, I was like, okay, we're not going to focus on fix and flips anymore. Now is the time to get into sub two. We've been in for about a year and a half, so totally. It's so important that you learn to pivot, especially like you said, co-living. I
yeah.
heard somebody, Sam Wiegert, right? You know who Sam Wiegert is, right? He was on a show a while back, and he's got like 250 doors in, I think, Atlanta, right? One of the biggest co-living guys there. But he
Mhm.
was talking about that co-living is today what Airbnb was 10 years ago. Like, you're on that incline, and then people are just starting to learn about it, the advantages of it. And like you said, you're not only can you, make 5 times more than you would on a long term, but you can also, you're filling a huge need in the community that you're in, so it's a
Yeah.
win-win.
It's got a fulfilling component to it as well for me, right? And so I love that, right? I
Yeah.
love people. I love to give people value. And so, like, to be clear, like, I'm not quitting Airbnb. I'm still running
Mhm.
a very well-oiled machine on Airbnb,
Yeah.
but I've pivoted in the sense to where I'm only picking up very unique property experiences like this, right? When you go to
Mhm.
look for a property, you shop with your eyeballs. You want to see that I have the amenities. You want to see I have a location. You want to see I'm in emergent markets and stuff like that. Like I still like my biggest project that I'd launched recently was in Waynesville, North Carolina. Now, a lot of people are like, why Waynesville, North Carolina? Well, I did a lot of market research. Not only that,
Mhm.
I created a resort style property. Like I have an ice bath, I have a jacuzzi, I have a sauna. When you go out, you have views like this. People
Mm.
shop with their eyeballs, right? And so based on those type of things, like I'm only picking up what we call in the Airbnb community is super properties. So I'm only doing
Mhm.
super properties on the Airbnb side. I'm not doing basic, like the days of putting furniture on a property and putting it on Airbnb are over. They're done,
Yeah.
guys. Don't even think about it. A lot of people are in subject or sub two and they're like, oh, I got an Airbnb for sale. And they don't even know. A lot of times they're not even in regulated markets. So what I know now, like I only pick up very specific properties and super properties. Now that's all I'll continue to scale in on my portfolio on Airbnb side. Co-living, whole nother business, right? I'll still continue to scale that.
Yeah, I love that, man. And so I know, and we'll just touch on one more thing real quick, and then we'll move in more into co-living. But we have a luxury short-term rental that we're partners with in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it's been lackluster. It's got a beautiful luxury short-term rental, but I'm wanting to. Our partners are the operators, and they know the scene. But I'm wanting to do some kind of a theme or like accent wall, something just really to stand out. Because it's just been kind of like, bookings are okay. What would you recommend on that? Do you know anyone, or do you have any of those like themed, or
Yeah,
if it's not in an amazing area like you're in, if it's in a nice area but you need to stand out, what
yeah.
would you recommend? For
Well,
that?
everything, all my decisions are based on data. I don't just say, hey, can I put a Mickey Mouse room, or hey, can I put a room that's like a forest because I live next to a forest or whatever.
Mm,
Everything that I do, it needs to be backed on data. If I'm going to
mm-hmm,
if I'm going to invest into doing a themed room and I know there's an ROI out of that, what data backs that up? So
mm-hmm,
the way I gather my data, and when I'm going into a new market and I'm going to invest, hundreds of thousands of dollars into a new property, because these are capital intensive, I'm going to websites and hiring professional data analysts. What
mm,
they do is they aggregate data. Like I use STR Insights, and a lot of people will do like Air DNA, which is not a bad website, or they'll do Data Rabu. But what I'm doing is I'm studying that market. What are the top amenities? What are the top 75, 80 percentile? What do they have? Right? How do I replicate what they have and do it better? So what I would do is I would study my market lands, your market,
mm-hmm,
see what amenities you can add in, and to see what the ROI would be on that amenity, because it might not be a theme room. It could be simple as
mm-hmm.
adding a jacuzzi, or maybe adding a putt-putt green, or adding a bowling alley, or something like that, or adding a game room, or maybe a
Yeah.
fire pit. It could be something simple like that. Like
Mm,
your money should be going toward whatever amenity it's really calling for that specific market. You see what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
It might
Yeah.
not be the theme room, right?
Yeah.
Could be, but I'm
Makes a
just
ton of
saying,
sense.
when you look at it, you need to look at it. It needs to be data backed. It can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna do a theme room because I think a theme room is gonna pop. Yes, you're right. It does pop on Airbnb, and I do a lot of like the one I just did in North Carolina. We actually didn't do any theme rooms. Now we did a very professionally staged, and we did some walls that have different colors and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say
Yeah.
we did like a themed wall or anything like that, or
Mm-hmm.
But I just look at the data in that specific market, see what the 75 to 85 percentile is doing, those top properties, take those top properties and replicate what they're doing and then do it better. Also, what I do as well is I pay a guy from STR Insights, I pay him $500 an hour for him to give me the data, and also not just give me the data to when I crunch all my numbers, I make sure that he also signs off and says, you know what? Yep, that's right. That's correct. Right. So I'll put my
Mm,
accounts together, my performer together, and then he'll say, hey, look, I think that's a little off, or I don't. So I'm not only am I looking at the data from their website, their data, because it's a data aggregator, right? STR Insights, but I'm also hiring one of their guys, which is Kenny. A lot of people know he's the owner of the company, and all he does is look at data all day long. So if I spend
yeah.
$500, save myself thousands and thousands and
Yeah.
hours, why not? Right? A lot of
Yeah.
people look at it like, oh, I'm spending $500 an hour to hire somebody. Well, trust me, I do it. It's going to save you a lot of time and headache and hassle. So that's what I would do,
Yeah.
Lance.
Okay.
See exactly if a theme room is going to give you the ROI that you think it's going to give you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love it, man. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, man. So we were on like you're doing your own kind of trainings, right? You're doing a weekly training on co-living. I got to hop on your Zoom the other day, man, and it was incredible. The amount of information that you dumped out, I was like, holy crap, this dude has got, the systems and processes dialed in. Like I was very impressed, man. And that's really what I feel like you need to do if you're going into co-living. What can you say to somebody who's just going into their first deal? Like, what are some of the key things that they need to get figured out, especially if like they're going to self-manage, the property.
Yeah, well, first thing and foremost, I would say is create your buy box and know your market, right? Knowing the market is the most important thing. And so with co-living, these individuals are you want to do this type of business model in either A, merging markets, or B, like, I'm doing like Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, major metro markets where there are bus stops and stuff like that nearby. So once you really know what market you're going to invest into, you can create that buy box, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to do this business model co-living, you can't do it in the boonies. Like you have to have job growth. And what the avatar that's going to book your property are going to be individuals like who work at your Walmart, who work at your Lowe's, who works at, Amazon, stuff like that. So look in the general area, see who the biggest employers are. You can go to the censusbureau.com. You know, those people who are hounding you, calling you all the time, want to know if you're employed, who you're employed with, do you have a wife, etc. Well, they have a bunch of data on their website, 100% free. You can look at their website. You can go to bestplaces.net and start really underwriting that market before you even spend a dollar in that market. I know that major metro markets like Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, these areas are areas that have tons of basic job growth. And when I'm doing this type of business model, I want to know that there's tons of basic job growth in that market because this is what's going to fuel my bedrooms. So that's the first thing I would do. And then after you do that, you can create your buy box and stay really strict within your buy box. I see a lot of people, what they do is they get all this noise in their inbox and their emails and all these deals sent to them. If you create your buy box, you can easily eliminate most of that noise and say, you know what, this is what I'm gonna stick with: 3 bedroom, 2 bath, no pool, in major metro markets, and you can stay
Mm-hmm.
to that buy box, and then you can start sourcing your deals through wholesalers. If you're gonna go direct to seller, working with guys like Lance, stuff like that. So know your market, create your buy box, and then once you have that buy box created, you can start focusing on where you're going to source your deals from.
That's great. Great information, man. I agree 100%. Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, so, Javier has like, I mean, and I think your current deal you're actually going to do a pad split with, is that right? This current deal you're doing that we
It's
were
already up.
talking. It already is up. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So,
it's already up. I got another 8 rooms up. I just launched.
okay, let's talk a little bit about what the difference is really between the co-living versus a pad split. Why would someone choose pad split over like a co-living model? And
So this is
what do you think the difference is? And what
Yeah,
would you say
so
the difference is?
so I mean, Pat Split is co-living, right?
Yep.
There's no difference. The only thing is different is I'm working with a company which is called Pad Split. They're a
Mhm.
nationwide housing provider where they're doing the sourcing of and they're curating the member per room, right? They call them members, right? So I sign a lease agreement with Pad Split. Their job is to do the marketing. So they do marketing like on Google, Facebook. They do all these marketing on all these social media platforms to curate that member to book, let's say, room number one. But they're also doing a background check, a credit check, employment verification. They have a very nice platform that has very nice engineering behind it where you can see the payouts, you can pull CSV files for your yearly income. You can pull CSV files for your members. And it's a very nice platform to manage your properties. So I've partnered with them where I'm now the investor, where I have the product, and I partner with them, sign a lease agreement, and they're curating these members. Now you can do all this totally by yourself, but you have to ask yourself, do you want to do background checks? Do you want to do credit checks? Do you want to do employment verification? What I tell people, if you have a building that's like, 10, 15, 20 units plus, I would recommend you do your own in-house co-living, sourcing your own members or whatever you want to call them, tenants for those bedrooms. Now, if you have just one house like mine, right, where you have 8 bedrooms in that one home, it makes sense for me to get them involved. I don't want to have to focus on doing the marketing. I don't want to have to focus on responding to 900 messages on Facebook to ask for people asking me, oh, does your bedroom have a TV? Oh, what's the security deposit if there is any? Stuff like that. So
Mm.
for me, it makes more sense. Right now,
Yeah.
also their fee model has changed a little bit. Like I told you guys,
Yep.
when I said on my last Zoom, their new
Mm-hmm.
fee model that they're rolling out is they're only charging 8% a month of the gross revenue. If you're making $5,000 a month, they're going to take 8% off the top. Now they are taking the first 10 days for, let's say they had to curate Johnny for room one. They're taking the first 10 days of income for Johnny, right? After that, it's 8%. That makes sense. Now, if Johnny moves out and they have to curate another member, obviously that you're going to have to pay that 10 days again. Now, here's the big benefit, and this is what I like about it. People who are serious and people who want to really make this a business model for themselves and who are looking for longevity out of their members, this is going to be a big benefit for you. But if you're a host, on the platform and you're going to keep turning and burning through people through these rooms, you're going to freaking be in the negative. Like this is not going to be the business model for you working with Pad Split. You might as well do your own thing. If you like want to have a long retention rate, my goal personally is 12 to 15 months. Based on Pad Split statistics, it's 7 to 8 months how long the member is staying in each bedroom, right? So to
Mm,
answer your question, same thing. I can go
yeah.
and curate my own members and not get Pad Split involved at all, and it's still
Hmm.
running a co-living business model. I
Yeah.
actually had a property even before Pad Split was around, before I was even into Pad Split. I had a property I was renting out per bedroom. So I've been doing this for a while with even before Pad Split. I was curating my own members. So I know what it takes and the work it takes to go out there and advertise on Facebook and try to find post in these Facebook groups to find somebody who wants to book your rooms. I know what that work is, that legwork is like. I'd rather get that off to Passbit for a fee.
Yeah, I agree. So what if Pad Split doesn't operate in the area that you want to buy? You know, like I think I know they're expanding, but is there like if you had a potential co-living deal and it wasn't in one of their main markets, will they still work with you, or do you know
No,
what does
no,
that look
because
like?
remember right now, Pad Split's running about $500,000 worth of advertising a month. That's a lot of
Mm,
money. And so they're only doing it to the core markets you see listed on their website. Now, if you're in a market that they're not in, don't put your property on Pad Split, because guess what? They're not running any marketing dollars towards your area. So what you're going to have to tell yourself, let's say you're in a market that's a really good secondary market. Now, remember,
mhm,
I mentioned Orlando, Tampa, and Jacksonville earlier. There are still really good secondary markets next to those markets that I
mhm.
would invest into personally. So if
Yeah.
you're in a really good secondary market, maybe Pad Split's not there, which
Mhm.
Pad Split, even though that they're running their ads to those main markets, they actually still have secondary markets next to these major metro markets. So make sure you check with them and give like, a sales rep a call and see if they can help you out, see if they are going to come into that market. And if not, let's say you're like, you know what? Pat's not in this market. I know I'm in a phenomenal market for co-living because there's a big warehouse down the road that employs 10,000 people, let's say, right? Like
Mhm.
an or something. Well, then you're just going to have to start curating your own members and doing like, you could do Facebook advertising. Like I was telling you, Lance, like join some
Mhm.
Facebook groups that do room rentals. Like don't forget, like the old days, like I talked about in the beginning of the podcast, I used Craigslist to source a bedroom that I rented for $400 a month, right? So I right now, if I have to source anyone without me using PadSplit, I would use Facebook groups where the ones that are there's housing groups. There's typically I see groups anywhere between 1,000 upwards of 26 to 27 members, so 1,000 members, and start making your posts in there, showing people and showcasing your product. Hey, I got a bedroom. It's for rent. This is the terms and conditions, what I'm looking for, and try to curate your member through, doing your own sourcing.
Dude, that's great. That's gold. Gold nuggets, guys. Gold nuggets. I wanted to invite Justin or Juan. Did you guys want to hop on? Did you have any questions you wanted to ask Javier?
Um, so there are some good questions in the comments here. Someone asked, how do you handle disputes between tenants? And I know Pad Split is a platform that would handle that sort of thing for you. But if you're renting out to yourself to
Yeah,
people, how are you?
yeah, great
Um,
question. So just to be clear, like, so this is what PadSpit does, right? Just to kind of say it over. PadSpit, their sole job is to operate the platform, meaning like they have all the engineers that keep that platform running. They do all the marketing, they do the background check, employment verification, and the credit check. Now, they do have a 24-hour support number that a member can call. So let's say a member is having a dispute with another member in the house. They can call that support number and do some outreach to them. But really, that's going to really just come back down to the host, really. So that's going to get escalated up to support, but the really support's going to, say, hey, look, Johnny's having a problem in room number one. It is up to you as the host to see, hey, is maybe let's use an example, hypothetical example. Johnny's smoking cigarettes in bedroom number one. Susie's in bedroom number three. She's very allergic to cigarette smoke. He keeps doing it ongoing. He's saying, or she's saying that he keeps smoking. Now it's up to you to where you can actually one, she can write a rating on Johnny in that bedroom. So all the members in the rooms, they all get a chance to write reviews on each other, right? So they get the title tell on each other. And if you keep getting bad reviews on the platform by myself, the host, because I can review you as well, and then the members in the home can review each other as well. If you keep getting bad ratings, if you get more than, I think in a 4-week period, if you get more than 2 bad ratings, you actually get banned from the platform. If I want to expedite that process even faster and say, you know what, I don't want to wait for the 2 ratings as a host. Johnny is indeed smoking because I sent my cleaner over there to check if he is smoking. It smells like cigarette smoke coming out of his room. We're verifying it. We're going to do some investigating. We can actually terminate him right away and evict him from the property, right? I can expedite that right away if it's something that catastrophic. Now, if it's something more like, hey, Johnny's leaving dirty dishes in the sink, you're going to kind of talk through with him a little bit, right? I know that certain hosts have colored plates for certain members where like room 1 will have blue plates, room 2 will have red plates, and you know, you can tell who's leaving the dishes based on the color, right? Some hosts do that. I personally don't do that. But if it's something like dirty dishes, we're going to talk through it a little bit. But if it's something where it's threatening everybody, like cigarette smoke in the home or somebody's fighting or something like that, we can expedite it and we can get them evicted right away. Obviously, we're going to look into it. We're going to make sure that this is true what they're saying, and they're not just trying to be you know, just trying to get at that extra that member in the house, because that does happen. You might see somebody's like, you know what, I don't really like living with this guy. I'm just going to write him bad ratings. So you really need to look into it. But you can look into this by, like me, I have boots on the ground. I'll send, like, if I get like a cigarette smoke smell, somebody saying that, we're going to send the cleaner there. I'm going to pay them a fee to go there to investigate and to see what's happening. And if they truly are smoking and we can verify that, we can evict them right away.
Yeah. Gotcha. I got a question. So you have a pretty extensive background in short-term rental. And where you've taken that is sort of high-end experiences, so on. You know, we had Sam Wiegert on, and his model is co-living, not with pad split. I see pad split as sort of like a working class model. Sam's is a little bit more of a higher class clientele where he's trying to create communities and so on. Do you have any plans on merging the 2 skills of STR with co-living along with your management company and creating those higher end experiences where you can charge a premium?
Yeah, great question. I can already say that I already am, and the way I'm being different than most pad split hosts. If you go on pad split, a lot of these rooms. So what I've taken is I've taken my uniqueness of Airbnbs and put them in a pad split. So I'm going that extra mile and making my property. So for instance, my mattresses are very high quality. My pillows are very high quality. I'm putting really nice artwork. I'm putting nice desks. I'm not just getting the cheapest of the cheapest of the cheapest. And most pad split hosts are like, you go in some of these rooms, they look like little prison mattresses. Like the mattresses are real thin, the pillows are real thin. So not only am I doing that, if you see my pictures as well, the place is really staged and showcased really well. So I'm taking that unique experience and that really nice, like, hey, I want to live here, this is really homey experience, and putting that into pad split. Now, as far as like taking this and making, you know, a higher end clientele or higher end community, I haven't thought of it that far yet. I'm really just now doing it from, like, you know, working with basic workforce and getting them into the housing and seeing how that's working out. I'm starting to see a really good response rate. I'm starting to see these members really like each other. I'm actually seeing a lot less problems out of it than I thought I would, meaning like I'm seeing like a lot more people getting along than I thought I would. When I think like 6 people under one roof, they're going to hate each other, right?
Yeah.
Thing is, remember this, right? These people are working, and a lot of times these people are working 2 jobs to make ends meet. And so they're in and they're literally there to sleep, eat, go to work, sleep, eat, go to work, sleep, eat, go to work, and repeat. So I'm actually seeing a lot less issues coming out of it. So I haven't really thought of the aspect of, hey, do I want to do this in a higher end? Like, there are higher end pad splits, and there are people who are creating that type of product. Right now, I'm just working with the basic job force, people who are want a nice professional host home and a nice unique room. Like, and when I say unique, I'm really doing a lot of nice artwork, a lot of nice designs, as far as like, you know, the frames are not just like metal frames. We're actually going, you know, nice, you know, wood frames with metal inserts in them, so where they don't break the beds, obviously, stuff like that. So I am taking a little bit, I would say a little sprinkle of my STR background of the uniqueness and throwing it into pad split.
Yeah, nice. What do you look for in your pad splits? Like, what's the parameters and generally what sort of deal structure are you finding works best there?
Yeah. So great question. So right now, my buy box is the major metro markets like, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville. I'm okay with going outside those markets as long as I'm within 20, 30 minutes. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and a minimum of 1,400 to 1,500 square foot property. Because ideally, for where it makes sense on my, sorry, I'm gonna call for that. Where it makes sense on my, for my cash on cash return and my cap is I want to be around that 30 to 40% cash on cash return. So if I'm getting a 3 bedroom, 2 bath or a 4 bedroom, 3 bath, I like to see where I can convert this into a 7 to 8 bedroom. If I can do a 7 to 8 bedroom out of the property, it's no HOA, it's in one of the major metro markets, it's a single family home, I'm all game. Now, on the how on acquiring these properties, it's only to be creative. It's got to be a seller finance or subject to deal. On the subject to deals, it have to be 5% interest rate or lower. Okay. Um, I don't personally go direct to seller. I work with bird dogs. And so people bring me deals on a daily basis. Lance knows I've been building my brand like crazy. A lot of people see my brand blowing up on YouTube, Instagram, and I have a lot of trust and authority that I've built online. So what happens right now is like the deal that I just bought at 2.5% with an entry fee. My entry fee on that was like 13, 14%. Again, I'm okay with having a little bit higher entry fee because guess what? I didn't have to do the door knocking. I didn't have to hound down that seller. I'm working with people who are already doing that. They already know my buy box. They're bringing me deals, right? And so I'm only acquiring on creative finance, and my entry fee can look anywhere between 10 to 15% on some of these deals. As long as my cash on cash is 30 to 40%, the one that I just launched in Jacksonville at the 2.5% interest rate, I took over an underlying loan of $267,000. That was a pre-foreclosure. A realtor brought that deal to a wholesaler. Wholesaler brought that deal to me. Neither one of those knuckleheads knew what they were doing. I went ahead and locked up the deal, and I closed on the deal. I think I was on that deal for like 14%.
Gotcha. Nice.
Sweet, man. I had a I had a question for you, brother. What are you doing to like to find those longer stay tenants, man? What's the different? What are you doing different than you know than whatever pad split model is? Like, how are you attracting those people who want to stay longer? Besides what you obviously said, are you screening differently? Are you doing anything
Yeah.
besides a little nicer furniture and whatnot?
Yeah. So obviously the nicer furniture thing that I told you, right?
Yeah.
That's not even where I do my most of my research. So what we have on my pad splits, I have the instant booking off where they can't just instant book my property. When they inquire about the property and they send a request to book, they're getting hit with a list of questions. Hey, how long are you looking to stay for? Do you have a vehicle? Do you understand the co-living business or co-living in a living environment? Have you read the membership and do you agree to the terms and conditions on the membership agreement that you had to sign? So we're asking all these qualifying questions before we accept them, right? Because I want to make sure that I'm housing someone. For instance, if they say, hey, I'm only looking for a place for 2 months, because I'm starting to see that actually. I'm starting to see people come through the platform. They're like, hey, I want a place for 2 months. I personally don't want to do that. I want somebody to stay there for, I would say minimum really 8 months, but I really want somebody there for a year or longer. Right.
Mhm.
If somebody says, hey, you know what, I'm going to be there 6 months, I probably work with that. But again, I want to do a year longer. So depending on how they answer those questions and the vibe that we get off of how they're replying. That's another thing. Messaging, things can be misconstrued. And a lot of times these people who do want to jump on a phone call and like talk through with you and not just message over the platform. Like I had the lady in the last one, she wanted like, hey, can you call me this and that? Typically we don't call people. I have my VA structured to where they only message back and forth. I don't get involved. I have my VAs that work for me. Like I told you on my last Zoom that I did with everyone, I have three VAs that work 24 hours around the clock, and they run all my customer service for my Airbnb and my pad splits. So when they get those sequence of questions, depending how they answer them, is if we'll approve or deny that individual. And so if they're within that threshold of, I again want to be around a year plus if they're looking for a home to place to stay, then I'll definitely accept them.
Nice. I love that, man. Great answer. The VAs. I love the VA thing, man. That makes so much sense. It's funny. I'm reading Jim Quick's book Limitless, right? I've been taking my time on it. Pace was so graciously gave everyone in Sub 2 a free copy if you were able to catch that. But
I got it.
yeah, bro. So I'm in the part that chapter about AI, like, and how much it can help you, and literally you can use AI almost as a virtual assistant nowadays. It's insane some of the capabilities, of AI. But
Yeah,
anyways, I've always been freaked out about it, like, Skynet and all this shit. And but
you, yeah, and you guys have to think about it this, like you have to start buying your time back. Like if I did everything and I ran all my operations, do you think I can be right here in Lake Tahoe? No. Like my phone blows up when I'm on the mountain. Like my phone's always like I've just got a call right now when I'm on here with you. I have a team, and the reason why I have a team, they're able to give me my time back. If I have to spend a couple $100s to hire somebody on, then I'll do that. I'm okay with doing that because I always look at the ROI on it. Like right now, like I just brought on a full-time videographer on my team where all they're doing is following me around with a video camera, recording everything. Matt knows. He taught me always document, don't create, just document everything, right? Long and short form content with call to actions, right? So one of the hires we brought on the team was a full-time videographer. So like, we're saving that time. Matt doesn't have to
nice.
be reporting now, and guess what? He can be doing something else,
That's sick, man. Yeah, you
building
see
out.
those guys at the events following people around.
Yep.
It's so valuable, man.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
That's so dope, man. Okay, cool. We got your YouTube channel. Hey, does anyone have any questions that they'd like to hop on and ask? Or Juan, did you want to hop on and did you have anything you'd like to ask Javier?
Yeah, I did. Going back to the whole conversation around evicting or evictions, are you only focused on like specific states or specific markets because of that to make it easier on you to evict people?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, I don't personally, I'm one of my main states, and I'm pretty much the only state I'm in is Florida. I only typically invest in the landlord states, friendly states. I'm not going into other states that aren't landlord friendly. And so that's just the way I look at it. At the end of the day, if you're gonna have you're in real estate, if you're gonna start building a portfolio and you're gonna start scaling, there's gonna be some point in time you're gonna have to evict somebody. It's the nature of the business. I tell people it's like going to the beach and saying, "Hey, I don't want to get sand on my feet." Like this is gonna happen at some point in time. Like then that's when you have to ask yourself, do you want to be an operator? You might not want to be an operator. You might want to be a PML, right? You might want to be a PMP that just sits on the sideline that doesn't do much in the deal. So the states that I invest into are pretty much only focused in Florida. Now here's another way I look at it. I like single family, and single family always have a place in my heart. It's put me to where I'm at today. But for me, I rather have all my properties in one dense market and not have them like, Georgia, Texas. Like I want one dense market. That's less people that I have to work with. I rather have one crew that I work with in that market, and boom, I can plug them into another home. And it's like plug and play. I have SOPs built out for each property. So I can pass them on these SOPs instead of going to a new market. You don't know anybody. You have to rebuild that team out, stuff like that. So that's another way I also look at it is based on what markets I'm in and the crews I have built out. And there's plenty of opportunities in my backyard. Why do I need to go anywhere else? You see what I'm saying?
that makes perfect sense. And what about marketing to find your tenants? Is there any specific marketing channels that you prefer?
Yeah. For me, I'm doing everything on Pad Split. I'm paying the management fee that they charge. I'm okay
Mm,
paying that because they're doing all the marketing. They're doing Google, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. They're everywhere. They're dumping $500,000 worth of marketing every single month. If I was doing this without Pad Split, which I have done and I still do to this day, I do all of mine on what I'll do is that let's say I'm in Orlando, I join all the Orlando housing groups and I make my posts there. Through
mm.
there, when you do your own marketing, you're trying to curate your own member, you will get blown up. Get prepared. You will get blown up. So what I recommend is maybe create like an intake form to where if somebody does inquire, they get replied with an intake form. Hey, fill this out. That tells you about themselves. Hey, how long you looking? Just have some qualifying questions in that intake form. And if it's a lead that fits your criteria, then you can reach out to them. Because if you just do a post, what's going to happen is you're going to get hit with a lot of messages. Hey, can I bring a
Mhm.
dog? Hey, can I have a girlfriend? Hey, what's the security deposit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're going to do it and do your own members, I personally would do Facebook. You can go on Airbnb and put your rooms up for rent. You can go to roomster.com. You can go to Furnish Finders. These are all marketing platforms if you're going to not use Pad Split.
Got you. How about Craigslist? Is that one that you try to stay away from?
Yeah, I don't do anything with Craigslist. I don't do it.
Gotcha.
Craigslist is kind of becoming like the MySpace. It seems like it's like less and less people seem to be going on Craigslist. They kick off a lot of stuff too. I've noticed recently.
Yeah, I don't do anything. Sorry, what is Craigslist?
Oh my gosh.
Are you being serious or joking?
I was joking.
Okay, dude, bro. My wife's like, oh my gosh. Juan, was that it, bro, or did you have something else?
That's it for me, man. That was good. Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it,
thanks.
man.
Hey, you're welcome, brother.
Thanks, bro. Okay, man, we got our first question. Mike Baker, man, if you could turn your camera on, please, sir, and then unmute yourself. Thank you.
What's going on, man? It's been interesting listening to all your stuff on these co-living. My question, you mentioned you spend 10 to 15% on the entry fee, which is quite reasonable, I think. But with pad split, as I understand it, don't you have to do quite a few renovations in order to increase the bedroom count and to get that number of bedrooms? Like I think you're talking about a 3-4 to go into like 7-8 rooms. And then, what kind of dollars are you spending on that?
Yeah. So to give you a real life scenario, because I personally like to do hypotheticals, the one I just did in
Sure.
Jacksonville, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, just under 1,600 square foot. I converted into an 8-bedroom, 2-bath. And so the renovations that I had to do, and when I'm buying these properties, by the way, I'm making sure that all what I call the hearts and lungs of the property are all updated. The roof, the electrical, the plumbing, the AC. And if it has a septic system, I don't want to have a septic system because a lot of people, and here's a real good pro tip I want to leave you guys with. A lot of people don't realize a lot of septic systems aren't adequate for the amount of people you're going to have living in the home. So that means you're going to have to upgrade your septic system if you're going to have all these people living in the property. A lot of times people don't have, 1,000+ gallon septic tanks or they don't have the proper drain field. So typically when I buy my properties, I don't typically buy septic. I like to look for sewer. Now, when I went to that property that I just bought in Jacksonville, when I'm buying these properties, I want to also make sure the cosmetics are updated. So for instance, the whole entire kitchen was renovated, had shaker white cabinets, stainless steel appliances, all the floors were updated, all the paint on the walls were updated, had a new roof, the electrical was copper, I mean, et cetera, everything was updated, right? Now, if I have to go in there and do small renovations, like for instance, the bathrooms were a little dated, and so what I do a real cheap renovation, which I'll do like the new vanity, new light fixtures, take out that medicine cabinet, reglaze the bathtub, put some new flooring, and so that gives me a very fresh new look for very cheap. You're $1,500 to $2,000 a bathroom versus $8,500 to renovate the whole entire bathroom, right?
Right.
And so me putting up the walls to give you a perspective of what it cost me to turn a 3-bedroom, 2-bath into an 8-bedroom, 2-bath. And on pad split, for every 4 bedrooms, it's a requirement for you to have 1 bathroom. And so it cost me with HVAC, because we have to add HVAC in the rooms. We have to add AC.
Yep.
You can either move the ductwork and add flex into those rooms, or you can do mini split units. Mini split units aren't really cost effective because you're talking for a mini split, you're talking for a 12,000 BTU, you're looking at, $15 to $2,000 per unit. That's a lot of money. So if it makes sense and your system is adequate enough for the bedrooms that you're going to add, and it can, let's say that property that I think I have a 3.5 or 4.5 ton, and you could just run the flex into those rooms from a cost efficiency standpoint, it's gonna save you a lot of money down the road. But so for me to do the flexes, adding the flex in the attic, adding the minor electrical that we had to add in some of the rooms, and when I say minor electrical, like putting ceiling fans up and a switch, that's it. Right. And just making sure you have 2 to 3 outlets in the room for people to plug their cell phones in. And then putting up the drywall, the texturing on the drywall, the paint, and the building the closets. I prefer to build closets, by the way, guys. I don't like to do the dresser thing. If you buy a dresser off Amazon, people end up breaking it, or they pull the drawer out and it breaks over time. I rather spend a couple extra bucks adding a 3x3 little closet, a little reach-in closet, because I can charge a little bit more in pad split as well. But adding that closet into the space in your initial renovation. So I added 5 closets. I put up we added the 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We made it into an 8-bedroom, 2-bath. And doing the HVAC and doing the electrical, it cost me $20,000 to do all that. Okay.
Oh, wow. That's
20
good.
grand, 20 grand, right? So that's besides my entry. So it's important, you guys, when you guys are doing this, a lot of people, I'm not sure if everybody here is in sub 2 or if you're not in sub 2. Remember, make sure you understand what an entry fee is. Entry fee is so subjective. People are like, oh, a cash seller, cash to realtor, TC fee, but they don't realize that you have 2 months of holding costs to get your property up. You don't realize that you have $20,000 in pad split renovations. You don't realize it takes you $7,500 to typically furnish a 8-bedroom property. It cost me $7,500 to furnish that property. You see what I'm saying? That's besides the $20,000 I just mentioned. And once you add up all these things like holding costs of doing the lawn, the power, the PITI, once you look at all this stuff, it really adds up really quick. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Moving fast. My last project, I got it done in 39 days. So somebody who hasn't done this before, it's probably gonna take you 45 to 60 days to get your property up and running. For somebody like I move really fast. I've done this a lot of times, and I did it in 39 days, and that was me cranking. We were cranking, at the property.
Right.
So
And that's in addition to your entry fee, right? That you
correct,
paid.
correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My exact entry fee on that deal, to put things in perspective, because again, I don't like to talk about I like to give real life scenarios. It was a pre-foreclosure. We gave the reinstatement was like 31,000 and change, whatever. Anyways, my
Right.
cash flows on the deal, everything, tax tag and title out the door, cost me $49,600. On top of that
Yeah.
49,600, I had another 20 in renovations, right? And when I
Right.
say renovations, that was just putting up walls, electrical, stuff like that. I didn't remodel I didn't remodel the kitchen or anything like that. I just did a really light remodel on each bathroom to make it look better, to showcase better in the photos. And then I spent $7,500 on the furnishings for each bedroom. I do a desk and mini fridge in most of the bedrooms, unless they're really, really small bedrooms. Again, your bedrooms only need to be a minimum of 80 square foot, and you can make them as big as you want them. But as long as you have at least 80 square foot out of the bedroom, to put things in perspective, a parking space is about 120 square foot. So 80 square foot
Right.
is really small. I have bedrooms that
Wow.
are, so when you look
Well,
at all, it really, really adds up, So make sure you
what kind of
understand.
beds are you doing? Are they all twin?
Yeah, no. I do my beds, I do a queen. I try to do minimal of queen. I do
Okay.
have a property that has some 80 square foot bedrooms that do have some twin beds in them, but I try to do queen minimum. If you have king, you could charge a little bit more, but really you don't need to go to king. Again, it's going to make it to where people feel like it's inviting to invite somebody over. When you're taking these properties, you want to make it to where that member doesn't feel like they can invite somebody over because there's nowhere for them to.
Mm.
That's why you get rid of the living rooms. That's why you get rid of the dining rooms. That's why you get rid of, if you're having a property, you're converting it from an Airbnb into a pad split, like I did one of my properties, you're getting rid of that living room furniture and you're creating it into bedrooms. And that's where you're really going to get that ROI. What I have found, the numbers that I have ran, it doesn't make sense for me to do this anything less than like 6 bedrooms. I need 6 bedrooms upwards to 8 bedrooms for this to make sense for me.
Right. Right.
Awesome. Thank you,
Awesome. Well,
Mike.
thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that's great info. A lot of the information people don't, there's a lot more that goes into these things than just, getting a, house. I'm going to do a pad split. And I always have to ask people, well, how are you going to pay for the furniture and the renovations?
Yep.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad that helped.
Yeah, and with this one, you said it was a little higher entry, so it makes sense. With the 2%, interest rate, you're gonna make that back up pretty quick, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm okay with it. That's fine with me.
Oh, Anthony says IKEA. I don't know about IKEA. What do you think about IKEA? Have you used IKEA?
No, I don't. Like I said,
IKEA's.
I try to do the middle of the road. Now, you're going to hear a lot of different conversations. Some people might say, "Oh, you can go to thrift stores and buy furniture," but you have to also think about your time, right? We're
Mhm.
going back to the time conversation, guys. You have to have that mindset to where you are buying your time back. If I
Mhm.
can have everything delivered to the property, get that medium of the road furniture, not the IKEA, but not like West Elm, right? That's like a high-end furniture brand. If I can get that middle of the ground, and I typically use websites like Overstock, Wayfair, Amazon, get it all delivered to the property. I hire what's called an errand runner off of TaskRabbit. and they push in the packages every couple days, because obviously I do all this remotely. I'm not here pushing in packages. I'm not here shopping for furniture. My time's more important. Now, can I save a couple bucks going to thrift stores and finding stuff off Facebook Marketplace? Absolutely. Can you furnish a whole home like that? Absolutely. But you have to ask yourself, do you want to allocate your time to doing those type of things? And maybe you do if it's your first one, and that's totally fine, right? But after you do this and you want to make a scalable business model, that's not scalable, period. You need to have your SOPs in place where when we get the furniture, I have a whole Google Doc I can pass on to my assembly team where they know how to stage every single room. They know how to put everything together. Everything's done. You don't have to ask any questions, right? That's important. When you start creating those SOPs, you now have a scalable business model. You don't have to worry about it. You can be in Lake Tahoe snowboarding. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's it's just where, it's just how it is, But again, if you're doing your first one, you want to get your feet wet, you want to save a couple bucks. I truly understand that. And I have done that before, guys, just to let you know. But when you start putting your hat on, if you're thinking like, hey, I want to scale this looks like something that's going to be, scalable business model for me, and you want to scale it right off the gate, then I recommend going that middle of the ground furniture, not the IKEA stuff. Not only that, the IKEA stuff comes in about 9,000 parts for one desk. Yeah, I don't know. if you guys know that.
Yeah.
Your people who hire you to put the furniture together, they're going to charge you more money. And so that property I just did, I paid to assemble the whole entire property. I paid almost $2,000 to furnish or to assemble the furnishing. That included them removing the trash, putting up the signs, putting up the door locks, doing all the furniture, all that stuff. So,
That's awesome. And you
I
found
guess-
those guys on TaskRabbit. You have someone on that app that you just recommended to do all that.
Yeah, I have I
Amazing.
use TaskRabbit and Thumbtack. Those are my two apps that I use for hiring people. And now you build relationships with these individuals. And that's why I said it's important. If you can make all your properties in one dense market, you don't have to worry about like, oh, I have property in Texas, I have one in Georgia, I have one, like, just focus on your backyard. There's plenty of opportunities. If you don't see opportunities, it's you're just not rubbing elbows with enough people. There's no point. You don't need to do this across the world. Now you can if you want, but there's plenty of opportunities in your backyard.
Mhm.
If
Love
I
it,
were to
man.
single family, like I'm all about scalability. Like I love multifamily. I like 100 units plus, like, because you got one or two buildings, you got one insurance, you got one maintenance crew. Instead of having all these different single families everywhere, now you have to have all these different crews, all these different insurance policies, So if you're
Yeah.
that's the way I look at single family. If you're gonna do it,
Mm.
try to make it dense and try to stay hyper focused in certain markets. That's why it's important you create your buy box.
Beautiful. Great advice. I need to take that advice. No. Hey man, we have another question. Brandon Rice has his hand raised, and we'll take a few more questions, man. If you don't mind, sir. Go ahead, Brandon. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Lance, and thank you, Javier, for taking the time today. It's kind of curious in these conversions, you're targeting like 1,500 square foot places, and then, taking them 3-bedroom to 8 bedrooms. What's the kind of a minimum square footage that you allocate for a room in these kind of situations?
Minimum of 80 square foot.
80 square foot.
Yep. And that's also a pad split requirement.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. And then with the tenants, is there like any rules of the house that you put together, or does the pad split come with those type of things?
Yeah, so pad split in particular sends them I think it's like a 3 or 4 page member agreement, and it's literally very laid out and very detailed. Like, hey, this is a co-living environment, no kids. It's just for single individuals. Here's what's happened if you don't pay. It outlines the whole entire membership agreement with them. Me personally, I don't need to do anything outside of that. Now I do have on the platform, I do have house rules. But other than that, like, Pat Smith's already done that for me, right?
Yeah.
In the house though, we do have signs. Like, for instance, in front of the refrigerator, we have signs like throw away your old trash, be clean. In front of the washer and dryer, we have rules with the washer and dryer. Like, for instance, pull out the lint thing, clean out the lint, the lint trap, stuff like that. Same thing in the bathroom. Even my properties where I don't have septic tanks, just for psychological purposes, I put on the front of the toilet, this is on septic. Only put toilet paper in here. Because again, I don't want plumbing. I don't want to have people clogging the toilets. So we do have sign placement around the house. But other than that, pad split, if you're using pad split, guys, they already have a really nice built out member agreement that they have to agree to. And remember what I said earlier, on our qualifying questions, when people come in and they want to book the property, they have what we ask them is, have you read the membership agreement? Do you agree to all the terms and conditions in the membership? Right. And we want them to acknowledge that and reply back to them. It's kind of over communicating with them, make sure they double check. Because what I have seen when I first got going, you know, a lot of people don't understand what the co-living environment is. Some people think like, hey, I can have my kids over, right? Or hey, I can have my hoochie mom over tonight, right? That ain't working here. This is for one
Yeah.
person and one person only. Like, that's it. This is for you to eat, sleep, go to work, eat, sleep, and go to work and repeat, right? It's a stepping stone for these individuals, you know?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Good question, man. Sweet, bro. Let's see. Man, dude, you're awesome, dude. I loved your energy, bro. Like I love how excited you get about this. Like I feel like we really jive in that aspect, you know, like I love how excited you get and your energy is like super high, bro. I love that about you, man. You can tell how passionate you are about it, you know, and
Can't hold it
that
back,
goes a
bro.
long ways, man. It's super cool to see it. I
And
love it when people match my energy.
that's it, man. I love my energy to come through the camera and to you guys, even though we're not doing this like we are doing it in person, but it's via Zoom. But I love it. I love to spread it, right? Love to spread the love.
Yeah, I love the hoochie mama. No hoochie mamas.
No
that doesn't
hoochie mama.
fly.
Yeah, no hoochie mama.
There has been questions about like also like a lot of people I've talked to you know, you don't typically want to commingle men and women, right? So you're focused on only men or only women. Is
Yeah.
that something that you do as well?
So I have one that I'm doing where I prefer only men or only women. And all my
Right.
other properties are only men or only women. I'm doing
Mhm.
one right now where it is you know, where I'm mixing the females and the males. So let's see what happens. I'll give you more feedback, you know, 6 months of data. Um, I
Yeah.
see more issues, but it is co-ed right now. This new one that I'm doing. So we'll see how that works.
Nice. Someone said I just asked what they were wondering. Yeah, I've heard a few people talk about they just stick with a male or a female model because they don't want them, you know,
So
intermingling too much, right?
So remember this, if you do that, you will limit your occupancy rate to a point. So you have to
Yeah.
be patient. Now on pads, but they say based on statistics, it takes about 30 days to get 80% occupancy, right? This is based on their platform statistics. Obviously, there's a lot of variables to that. Depends on the market, depends on there's a lot of variables to that, right? Now, if you're going to deny people because they're, let's say, a female and you only want all male, then remember that's going to affect your occupancy rate to fill up a lot faster, if that makes sense. So I try to, right now I'm doing a test trial on one property. I'm going to mix males and females. I actually was only going to do males on this one. All my other ones are all split up, but I want to give this one a go and see how it works, you know.
Nice. I love that, bro. Effie hopped in late and she missed it, but she wants to know if you're doing higher end co-living. B or B plus neighborhoods, like, you know, and we kind of covered that a little bit. He's just but I don't know actually the neighborhoods, so I don't know if you actually talked about if you're looking for specific neighborhoods.
Yeah, I try to go C plus neighborhoods. Personally, I want to be in I want to be I want to have my members in an environment to where they feel it's safe to walk out of the home at nighttime, right? But as far as like, hey, am I doing like luxury co-living? I'm personally not. Like you guys said, I mean, some people are trying to niche down on that market and really create like a community. Personally, I'm not doing that. I'm not focused on that. I'm really getting a lot of the basic job workforce into these rooms.
Love it, man. Awesome. And I'll ask one more question and then we can kind of close. Well, and I'll ask you first before we get into the question, where can people find you, man? Where can people hook up with you, link up with you, or find your, you know, your platform and your you know, your Zooms and your training and stuff that you're doing like that?
Yeah, so you can always find me on every major social media platform, the real Javier Paredes at the real Javier Paredes on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Just type in the real Javier Paredes. You can also find my community. I have a community on school as well. I could put that in the chat as well as for people to join my community if they want to. And I have tons of giveaways. I have the free shopping list as well. For people who are doing co-living, I have a free shopping list you can download. on my school community. Let me actually grab that real quick. I'll put that into the chat. But yeah, just at the real Javier Paredes, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. I'm on all those platforms.
Sweet, man. I love that. Let's see.
So,
Yeah. So last question. Well, yeah, public transportation. You want to be near public transportation for sure. What's an average like in your area? What's an average charge like monthly rate? You know, I know it's kind of more like a weekly rate, but what is kind of an average rate in your area per room?
so right now in the Orlando market, we're looking about like 239 a week.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. The Jacksonville market's a little lower. Average is about 197-ish. But I'm still, when I put my properties up, I'm putting them up as a premium.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little patient. A lot of people, they get on these platforms and they're like, oh man, I'm not getting, it's not like Airbnb. You get a booking real fast. It takes
Mhm.
time. You have to be patient, keep an eye on your property. Like for instance, the property that just launched, I did all no move-in fees as well. So I can get people in there as fast as possible. So I typically do charge moving fees. Those range anywhere between $50 to $97. This particular property, I have no moving fees on it. And then also on my titles, I also put no moving fee, close to 10 bus stops. Like on that title, I put a lot of key words on that title as well. Yeah, I try to average about $1,000 a room as well. So he said $800 a month in Texas. I try to average about $1,000 a room.
Sweet, man. Yeah, no. So Anthony, I try to answer four bedrooms to one bath, man, is what I was saying.
Yeah, that's
That's the max. That's the max, right? And you got to have egress and all this other stuff. But man, I don't want to take any more of your time. You're in a beautiful setting. You've created this amazing lifestyle, bro. I appreciate your time and all of the knowledge that you dropped on us. Everybody, can you give Javier some love in the chats real quick? Give him some flames or some hearts if you got a ton of value out of this, guys.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you, man. Enjoy your additional few days in Lake Tahoe.
Go.
I'm gonna live vicariously through your Facebook posts and Instagram.
Cool.
So,
Yeah,
all
if
right,
anybody
bro.
wants to connect with me, man, the real Javier Paredes, hit me up on IG and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's keep it rocking and rolling, guys. I'm putting a lot of content out there and
Yep.
look forward to collaborating with you guys.
All right, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening. Javier, thanks, brother.
All right, guys, take care.
See you guys.